Hi everyone, I'm down at the Ecuadorian embassy in London again, where there is still a possibility Julian Assange could be expelled from the political prison he has been arbitrarily detained in for the last 7 years. Now, the reason that this expulsion might happen is because Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno, who previously failed in his attempt to sell Assange to Bolton and Pompeo and the other neocons in America through Paul Manafort for debt relief, has seen his approval ratings plummet down to 17% after the INA Papers scandal, which points to him possibly being involved in corruption. I know, I'm as shocked as you to hear that possibility, but his communications minister has said that Assange and WikiLeaks leaked the documents, saying that they've taped all his communications all along and are spying on him 24/7, even down to knowing how his children dance. And that he's a hacker for Correa, the previous president who originally gave Julian Assange asylum. The people here over my shoulder think he's blamed this on Julian Assange just for political reasons, and he's trying to expel him to curry favour with the Americans in order to save his failing presidency. Now, it's also to point out for people who are supporters of Julian Assange, there's no doubt that he's obviously not sympathetic to Julian Assange, but the person who came in would come in probably after him. Yeah, it's probably worse, so there is no silver lining there. One thing I've noticed is just how these activists fighting for the rights of a free press and defending the Fourth Estate look at those across the street from ITV, from the mainstream, with disdain, because I, and many others out there in independent media actually, are of the same opinion as these activists. We feel as if they are turkeys who are voting for Christmas by refusing to defend Assange and WikiLeaks. We think, at least as I do, the reason they don't do that is simple, and the reason they do treat Julian Assange so badly is simple. They're jealous. They're jealous of being an analogue watch in a digital age. Because if you think about it, what has Julian Assange and WikiLeaks done? He's taken the very four fundamentals of journalism and he's broken them down and transferred them flawlessly into the digital age. Now, I touched on this yesterday in the video, because journalism to me is four things. Being a journalist is four things. It's, first of all, being a point of information, or to gather information, or being a point that other people can leak information or give you information, release that information to you without them actually having any repercussions. And this is very important for democracy to work. Now, the second thing is the journalist must then obviously verify that this information is true, and then the third thing is release it if it is in the public interest. Now, there's no doubt that Julian Assange does all that. He's won a lot of awards for journalism. Now, the fourth thing is obviously the most important thing. That is, they must be able to protect their source. And this is something Julian Assange does better than anybody. If you look back towards if you look at other events, there are other leaks that have happened recently, for instance, the Reality Winner leaks that went through The Intercept. The Intercept just showed the government the documents and said, are these real? Can you verify them? Now, obviously, there were documents, there was all sorts of identification markers that can obviously identify and give away the person who sourced that material, and that is how Reality Winner was found out to be the leaker of that material and sent to prison. Julian Assange doesn't do that. WikiLeaks don't do that. They publish the information in its raw format, and so it's untraceable, so they can actually protect their source. The only reason Chelsea Manning is is in prison at the moment is because she actually told somebody else outside of WikiLeaks that she had done this. So it's important to understand that information. The reason I'm highlighting this is because if you actually look back at movies that have been made about Julian Assange, for instance, there was the movie The Fifth Estate, which Julian Assange actually wrote to Benedict Cumberbatch and asked him not to actually perform in that movie because he said it was so full of inaccuracies and so slanted towards the establishment. For instance, you might remember from that, there was the little guy in it who Julian Assange apparently treated quite badly and lied to. What they didn't tell you, that guy was an FBI informant all along. This is how they propagandise you, not just through the media, but also through television and through Hollywood as well. One thing that did come out of that movie, though, that I think might quite be true, was just how Julian Assange was treated by the mainstream media during that time. They really didn't like it, because if you look back in history, Every major story in history has come from leaks. For instance, the Pentagon Papers, that's the biggest one for me. That was from leaks. And do you remember? Jimmy Dore makes a point out of this. He makes a point out that came out of the movie about the Pentagon Papers that they wrote the Post, do you remember? And how they were all applauding. It's going on right now behind us. Right now! And this is why they need to get up and scream and shout. And the fact that they aren't just tells me they're all bought and paid for.